one of the most passionate players ever to walk into Philadelphia and really kind of, I don't want to say reinvent the position, but I think in a way what Kelce did was make centers known again. Who
Yeah.
could have ever thought that the center could be the star of your team?
Yeah.
That is what Jason Kelce brought to the NFL, and that is what is going to be missed. Now, we heard that he was announcing this retirement, and we said, okay, that's what we thought was going to happen. You know, all the emotional walk-off from Tampa Bay and all the storylines we've heard. But then he said, no, hold on, I haven't made a decision yet. So we wait a little bit longer. Thought maybe like Tom Brady, he would just decide to come back one more year. That's not the case. Jason Kelce stepping away from football for good. And with how good his podcast is doing, New Heights, I'm pretty sure that he's just ready to step into the next phase of life. You can get caught in that period of time where you're gambling, oh, just one more year. And you feel like you're really close to a Super Bowl, but after last year, maybe he's just willing to walk away from the poker table, enjoy his time with his family, and try to, because football, man, it's an aggressive, violent sport, and it will make you injured and not able to play with your kids. And I think he's just looking forward to this next chapter of life. But what did you think when you heard the news? And I guess nobody was shocked to hear it, but were you a little bit surprised that he officially announced it?
A little bit. Kind of what you were saying though. What happened? You know, when that story released about him telling his teammates that he was going to retire, and then that leaked, and then he's like, "No, hold on, I was just talking. You know, I was emotional. Blah blah blah. I don't know yet." And then he does it. What was awesome? So I wasn't shocked, but what was awesome was listening to his retirement speech that he had prepared. You know, at the Nova Care complex or whatever it's called. What he had to say and just how kind of thorough he was talking about his career. I mean, he was talking about the very beginning with Travis Kelce, when they were kids, when they would imagine themselves winning these games, even well before they started playing football, even thinking about the NFL. Like, he was going into the depths of his soul, of his life, talking about this. You know, he eventually gets to Cincinnati, going there, being a walk-on there, having to earn his right to play there. And then eventually, you know, going to the Eagles and, you know, looking like one of the worst centers in the league at one point. And then he credits his offensive line coach, which his name kind of escapes me right now at the moment. Jeff Stoutland. He credits him with kind of bringing him back to that elite level that he was playing at, you know, before that, and really just what he is that we know Jason Kelce for today, right? And winning the Super Bowl with the Eagles, you know, being heartbroken that he lost to the Chiefs against Travis Kelce, and being, you know, just emotional about where he's at now in life. But like you said, dude, he's got a very successful podcast with Travis. He's got a family to take care of. He's got a 13-season career that he can absolutely like rest on his laurels on. You know what I mean? Like, it was a great career for him to be able to go to 2 Super Bowls and win one of them, to play against your brother, in the Super Bowl. I just think like what he did was amazing. And like you said, probably one of the most famous centers, if not offensive linemen, today in the NFL, like just overall. So, I mean, again, his career is really honestly historic, and something that if you are a lineman, you know, looking at what you want to do, the impact you want to have on the NFL, it's a Jason Kelce career. That's all you could ask for when you're coming into the league as a young offensive lineman.
Yeah, and also a lot of people want to play at a high level until the end of their career.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to be remembered in a negative way. Manning lost this in this episode of how to make it.
Oh, we'll get there.
Manning, you know, he's not remembered playing at elite level. Like, he happened to win a Super Bowl, which is very odd and I mean, just normally it wouldn't go down like this, but when people talk about Manning's final year, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like, oh my God, the Broncos were barely keeping him,
Yeah.
playing in the game. Like, you don't want to be remembered like that. And that's always kind of like, when do I walk away? Tom Brady walks away after a one and done playoff, year, but people still, it's not like we saw Tom Brady playing terrible. So we still remember
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
guys good and in a good light. And you look
Mm-hmm.
at Kelce, and he was first team All Pro last season. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
just proof that he played at an elite level up
Yeah.
until his final snap. So he's walking away from the game with definitely more in the tank, but that more in the tank might be reserved for some other things that he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is going to be interesting for the Philadelphia Eagles. I would imagine that they're going to be drafting
Yeah.
an offensive piece. This is still one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Speaking of those other people, Lane Johnson, the right tackle, said if it was his last game, he was one of the best teammates I ever had. That's what he said after the wild card loss to Tampa Bay in January. He also said that he's a guy whose passion is unmatched, a guy who I saw in Phil, a guy who I saw Philly try to run him out of town. I saw a guy emerge from that and become the
Mm-hmm.
best center that maybe has ever played. And Kelce is the fifth center in NFL history with at least all 6 All-Pro selections.
Yeah.
The other 4, Jim Otto, Bulldog Turner, Jim Ringo, and Dermody Dawson. And
Wow.
all those other guys are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So likely a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Should be going straight in. So go ahead and just get fitted for the gold jacket now, Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
You're definitely getting one, and congrats on a hell of a career. It was a pleasure
Yeah.
to watch.
Congrats. He has the most first team all pro selections after turning 30. And that's 6. And that's ahead of Jerry Rice and Bruce Smith. Bruce
That
Smith,
is
who had
just
5.
fucking with me right now.
Insane, dude. Like
Wait.
2016 was his worst year. And
What?
Stoutland worked with him for 7 more years after that. And out of those 7, 6 of those were first team all pro. Like,
Oh,
just incredible. And Bill makes a good point here. Tush Push officially over in Philadelphia. He was like the anchor for that. I mean, you kind of heard him over the season too. Like, anytime Sirianni would call a tush push, I'd be like, oh fuck, because he's gonna get demolished.
I still expect him though. Week
Mhm.
1,
Oh yeah.
to run out onto the field, or
Mhm.
be around the fans. Like, this is a guy that just chugs beers with fans and looks like he's having the most fun ever. He's
Mhm.
got his flip flops on. He's jumping up into the booth, jumping back out with the fans. Like, he's just such a relatable, personable guy. And I still think that he's going to be connected to Philadelphia sports for life. And I
Yeah.
don't expect him to, you know, perhaps like move out of the state just because his
Mhm.
career's over. People that like where they play, I mean, Manning still lives in Denver. He has never moved back to Indianapolis.
Really? Wow.
And I was just there, so I could understand why. Um, just,
Sorry, Ginger.
yeah. Sorry, Ginger.
Oh
Uh,
god.
but yeah, his brother, though, I expect him to be going to a
Mhm.
lot more football games for the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you could tell, like, it's crazy, man. Like, I have a younger brother, and I see how you and your brother are, and I'm like, and I see how Travis and Jason are, and I'm like, I'm not like that with my brother. It's just like,
Really?
wow, that's so cool. Yeah, yeah. Like, there's like a bond, there's like a legit
Oh,
bond there.
are you
You know what I
guys
mean?
8 years apart?
Well, we're like 4 years apart, four
Oh,
and a half.
okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're 2. I always say 2 is the sweet spot because you're still kind of in the same age group, but there's enough of a separation where like
yeah.
you have your own friends.
Yeah. Mhm.
But like you can play together and like
Yeah.
look up to like, oh, that's what cool
Yeah.
people are wearing. Like, but when
Yeah.
it gets a little further, it's like there's a bigger gap,
Yeah, and I mean, like, one of the biggest things too was like he went to college after he went to college and I stayed in Chicago, and then when he came back from college, I got in the Navy. So there's been like 10, 11 years of us not really being in the same place for long periods of time. You know what I mean? Like we've been separated for so long. So like I get that part, but it's just like I look at that and I saw how he embraced, not only his mom, his dad, his wife, but Travis after his retirement. And I'm like, man, those, like you said, he's going to go to a lot of Chiefs games. He's going to be one of the biggest cheerleaders for Travis, moving forward, as you saw during the Super Bowl. So it's just awesome to see, like you said.
Well, I guess right before we move off this topic,
Mm-hmm.
I did want to make sure that we let everyone know, if you're an Eagles fan or if you just didn't know, that there was a succession plan in place. Last year, they drafted Cam Jurgens, who was selected in the second round to be Kelce's replacement, basically. So the Eagles actually asked Kelce about that, and he said Jurgens was my favorite player in the draft.
Nice.
So the Eagles had been asking Kelce to evaluate centers coming out of college for the past 2 to 3 years to help them. And Jurgens was the one who compared the most to Jason Kelce.
Wow. And could
How
you
smart
imagine?
is that?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And could you imagine, right? Like he had a year under Jason Kelce. So could you imagine he turns into, I'm not saying a Hall of Famer like Jason Kelce's going to be, but
Jordan Love.
settle down. But he turns into like a great replacement, a great rookie replacement for Jason Kelce. Like the Eagles they'll just go down as like one of the smartest organizations for being like, hey, what do you think about this center? And their Hall of Fame center says, yes, I like that guy. And then bam, another guy who fills the shoes and just continues that great center play for the Eagles.
Yeah, and man, I just expect this to be so fun. Like whatever Jason and Travis Kelce were able to do with two professional jobs, they didn't have a ton of time, and they were one of the best entertainers of the year.
They were.
And now you're releasing Jason Kelce into the wild. It's like, watch out, man. I expect him to be at WWE events. I expect him
with
to
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, dude, he's going to be on the Pat McAfee show for sure. Like
Yes,
he's going to be going to
absolutely.
college football games.
Yeah,
Like
he's
all
gonna be
these
on this show.
he's we weren't going to tell anyone yet, but no, hopefully he does
God, I
come on this
wish.
show one day. This is the kind of show I think he would like, but